Rain carved silver scars across the alley. Headlights cut through smoke, too bright for mercy. A girl ran, shoes breaking glass, breath breaking night. The city watched, indifferent, its windows blinking like tired eyes. Shouts rose behind her, sharp and organized. Metal scraped asphalt. Engines growled awake. Fear had its own rhythm. 3 steps, a stumble, a prayer she didn't finish. A gun cocked somewhere close. The sound cracked the air open. She turned, caught in its echo, small and bright against the storm. Then a hand, gloved, certain, caught her arm. He pulled her sideways, behind the steel door of an abandoned loading dock. Bullets struck the wall. Sparks bloomed like false fireworks. The world went still. Silence spread between them, fragile as breath. His cufflink clicked once, deliberate, measured. A sound out of place in violence, polished like regret. She looked up. Rain clung to her lashes. He looked down, expression unreadable. The calm that follows a funeral. Steam rose from the barrels outside. The alley exhaled what it had witnessed. For a heartbeat, neither moved. He studied her face as if searching for a name he'd already lost. Then his voice, low even, sanded smooth by years of control. Why'd the Mafia boss save that girl? No answer came. The question floated between them, whispering against the rain. He adjusted his sleeve. Ritual motion, disguise for hesitation. Her pendant caught the light, a shard of glass trembling in its chain. He should have walked away. Instead, he breathed once, long enough to remember the weight of another night. The smell of smoke, the silence after sirens, a woman's voice cut short by indecision. Because I couldn't save my wife. The words escaped before he meant them to. Not loud, not proud. Just final. They landed softer than thunder, heavier than guilt. The rain slowed as if listening. Neon reflections shivered across wet pavement. She didn't speak. She didn't run. She only watched the man who looked like power and sounded like grief. He released her arm. The cufflink gleamed again, a memory pretending to be metal. Another click, quieter this time, as he fastened the silence shut. He turned toward the street. Headlights flashed once more, washing both of them in borrowed light. Somewhere beyond the rooftops, the city kept breathing, pretending not to see redemption trying to begin. For a long moment, neither moved. Breath met rain met glass, and the sound became one long, unspoken question. Then, without a word, he stepped into the darkness he'd created. And she followed, not because she trusted him, but because the silence felt safer than the world that had tried to kill her. The city swallowed them whole. Only the echo of that single click remained. Half gun, half promise. Fade into quiet. The city didn't sleep. It only lowered its heartbeat. Neon slowed against the rain. Cars whispered past like confessions. High above, a single window glowed, the color of tired gold. Inside, Soren Vale sat in the dark. No television. No music. Just the hum of air conditioning pretending to be company. He could see the whole harbor from here. Cranes like skeletons. Ships bleeding light into the fog. He should have been reviewing the ledgers, planning the next shipment, sending men to clean what the night had dirtied. Instead, he watched the girl sleeping on the couch, her hair damp, her shoes still muddy, her body folded in on itself as if the world might strike again. Even in sleep, her hands clenched. He remembered another woman sleeping once, Clara. Her breath synced to the ocean wind. That memory still had a pulse. He hated that it did. The clock on the counter blinked 3:17 a.m. Time didn't pass here. It dripped. He poured a glass of water, let it rest untouched beside the cufflink box. The box was open. Always open, only one cufflink left, the other buried under 6 feet of rain-soaked earth. He ran his thumb over the engraving. CV. The initials looked sharper in shadow, like they still cut. He had built this apartment as a fortress. Steel doors, mirrored walls, cameras at every corner. But tonight it felt like a mausoleum that still charged rent. A soft sound. A breath catching. The girl stirred. eyes blinking against the half-light. She sat up slowly, scanning the room, remembering the gunfire before the silence. "You're safe," he said, voice low, uninviting. She looked toward him, but not at him. Why? He didn't answer. Not yet. He poured another glass of water, slid it across the table. It stopped inches from her hand. "Drink." She hesitated, then did. The sound of glass meeting lips was louder than his breathing. He turned back toward the window. Outside, the rain had stopped, but the city still shimmered, like guilt refusing to dry. "You have somewhere to go." "No. Someone looking for you?" "Not anymore." A pause too long to be polite. He almost asked who, but questions were currency, and he wasn't sure he could afford another truth. She touched the pendant at her throat, a shard of glass catching faint light. He noticed it now, the way it trembled when her fingers brushed it. "Where did you get that?" "My father's shop." He didn't press further. Not yet. Instead, he leaned back, the chair creaking like an old decision. "You shouldn't have been there, neither should they." Silence again. Sharp. Deliberate. He liked the way she answered. Direct. Without apology. He didn't know if it was bravery or exhaustion. He stood, crossed to the small bar, opened a drawer. Inside, 2 guns, a rosary, a photograph. He took none of them. He only closed the drawer and exhaled through his teeth. The girl's eyes followed him. "You look like someone who doesn't sleep much. Sleep wastes time. So does regret." He turned then, really looked at her, the same way he used to study enemies before deciding if they should live. For the first time, the silence tilted toward curiosity instead of threat. "What's your name?" Elara Quinn?" She nodded, unsure why the name sounded like recognition. "You know me?" He shook his head. "No, but I know the kind of people who look for girls like you." Her gaze sharpened. "Are you one of them?" "I used to be." That was the truth, and it filled the room like smoke. The rain started again. Faint. Rhythmic. He watched its reflection move across the glass wall, tiny lines running downward like a clock without numbers. "There's a room down the hall. You can sleep there until morning. And after, we'll see." She hesitated, then stood. Her steps were soft, cautious, each one a negotiation with safety. When the door clicked shut behind her, the apartment exhaled. Soren leaned against the counter. The glass he'd poured for himself was still untouched. He picked up the cufflink instead, held it against the window, watched the city distort through it. He could still see the night she died. The same rain, the same silence before sirens. He'd promised himself never to hesitate again. Tonight, he had broken that promise, and he wasn't sure if it meant he was healing or beginning to fall apart. He placed the cufflink back into the box, closed it gently. The click echoed through the hollow apartment. Clean, metallic, final. Below, the harbor lights trembled in the fog, as if the city was trying to remember how to pray. Morning didn't arrive. It leaked in, pale, hesitant, filtered through rain-stained glass. The apartment had lost its silence to small sounds, the hum of the fridge, the tick of a clock pretending it mattered. Soren stood in the kitchen, sleeves rolled, coffee untouched. He didn't drink it. He just liked the smell. It reminded him of order. Elara emerged from the hallway wrapped in one of his shirts, her steps careful, measuring the distance between safety and debt. She looked smaller now, but her eyes had already learned the room. Exits, shadows, reflection points. He noticed. He noticed everything. "You're awake early," he said. "Couldn't sleep." "Good habit." She didn't answer. The way she stared at the rain beyond the glass, that was answer enough. He turned to the counter, adjusting his cufflink. That click again, deliberate, soft, closing something invisible. The elevator chimed. Raphael Mirov stepped out, unannounced, as always. Tall, calm, eyes that didn't miss what people wished he wouldn't see. His suit looked like authority had been tailored into it. He gave Soren a nod that meant both respect and intrusion. "Didn't know we were taking guests," Raphael said, voice light, eyes on Alara. "She's not a guest," Soren replied. "Then what is she?" Soren didn't answer. Raphael's smile widened. Silence was always his favorite admission. He poured himself coffee, the sound too casual for the tension it cut through. "You know, the boys downstairs are asking questions. Word spreads fast when the boss spares a witness." Alara turned slightly, sensing the danger in every syllable that wasn't aimed at her but circled her anyway. "They think Mercy's contagious," Raphael added. Soren's gaze hardened. "They think too much. They think because they're scared. Scared men are loyal, Soren. Safe men are not." Soren looked at the floor, that old habit of control returning. "Never argue. Just endure." Raphael stepped closer. "You want to keep this empire clean, I respect that. But weakness stains faster than blood. Don't make them choose between you and the fear that feeds them." Soren's hand twitched. The cufflink caught the light. Small, bright, defiant. "You finished?" "Not yet." Raphael turned to Alara. "You got a name?" "Alara." "Pretty name for a ghost." Soren's voice cut through before she could respond. "You don't speak to her." "Then why is she here?" Raphael asked softly. "If not to be spoken to?" Silence again. The kind that bends the air around it. "You can leave now," Soren said. "Of course. Just one thing." Raphael reached into his pocket, placed a folded piece of paper on the counter. "Police report. They found something at the docks. Thought you'd want to see it." He left without waiting for permission. The door closed. Alara stood motionless. Soren picked up the paper but didn't open it yet. He stared at his reflection in the polished counter. "You shouldn't be here," he said quietly. "You told me to stay until morning." "It's morning." She didn't move. "Do you trust him?" "Raphael?" He paused. "He's family." "That's not what I asked." Soren exhaled. "Trust is a currency we stopped printing." Alara watched him open the report. A blurred photograph. A body near the pier, half hidden under tarps. A woman, hair dark with rain, no face. Just absence shaped like guilt. Soren's throat tightened. The lines of the report blurred, letters dissolving into the same gray that filled his nights. He closed it. "You don't need to see this." "Then what do I need to see?" "That staying alive isn't the same as living." Her silence said she understood, but not in the way he hoped. He walked to the window, watching fog erase the harbor. Behind him she spoke, voice steady, careful. "I know what you are." He turned. "Then why didn't you run?" "Because I know what I am too." A pause. "The kind that binds two people by what they won't confess." "You're not safe here," he said. "Neither are you." The clock ticked once, louder than gunfire. He adjusted his cufflink again, each click echoing like a heartbeat trying to stay mechanical. Then he walked past her, grabbed his coat. "Don't open the door for anyone." "Not even him?" "Especially not him," he left. The elevator doors closed with a hiss. Alara stood alone, looking at the folded report. She touched her pendant, glass cold against skin. And for the first time, wondered if safety was just another kind of prison. By nightfall, the rain had turned thin, almost polite. A drizzle that pretended to wash things clean. But nothing was clean. Not the docks. Not the men. Not the truth. Raphael's message had traveled faster than loyalty. Soren felt it in the way eyes shifted when he walked through the corridor of his own headquarters. Greetings came late. Conversations stopped early. Silence weighed more than respect. He stepped into the meeting room. Marek stood waiting, posture straight, expression neutral. Jonah sat beside the window, rolling his lighter between his fingers. Click, pause, click. Mercy rehearsing itself in secret. "Talk," Soren said. Marek nodded once. Someone spoke to the police. Anonymous tip. Exact shipment details, exact time. And the tip was right. They intercepted truck Nur 4, lost everything. Soren's jaw tensed. One vein in his neck shifted like a warning. No one outside this room knew those roots. Jonah's eyes flicked up. Except her. The air folded inward. Even the light dimmed, unwilling to watch what came next. You think she told them? Marek hesitated. It's possible. She was there. She saw. Soren looked at the table, fingers resting against the polished wood. He didn't move. The room moved around him. Possible isn't proof. It's enough to make people nervous, Jonah murmured. Nervous men do stupid things. Soren's cufflink clicked. A small sound, but it emptied the air. Find out who gave the tip, he said, quietly. Marek nodded, already reaching for his phone. Jonah stood. What about the girl? She stays. You're sure? Soren's eyes lifted. Cold, flat, final. I said she stays. Jonah lowered his gaze. Marek looked away. Orders had been given. Morality would wait its turn. The elevator doors closed behind him. The apartment greeted him with silence again. Only this time it didn't feel empty. It felt watched. Alara wasn't on the couch. A cup sat half-drained beside the window, condensation tracing down its side like nervous sweat. He heard the faint sound of water running. Bathroom door cracked open. She was inside, phone in hand, whispering. He didn't hear words, just tone, urgent, scared, soft. He took one step closer. The floor creaked. The whisper stopped. She turned. Her reflection met his in the mirror. Two ghosts sharing one heartbeat. Who were you calling? No one. No one has a number. She lowered the phone slowly, thumb hovering over the screen. I thought maybe my father's old contact could... Your father's dead. I know. He held out his hand. Give me the phone. She didn't move. You don't trust me. You're alive because I don't. For a long moment, nothing. Then she placed the phone in his palm, gentle, deliberate, as if surrendering proof of something she hadn't done. He checked the call log. No outgoing numbers. Only one message, a draft never sent. He read it. 3 words. He found me. He felt it like a cut. Small, clean, invisible. He handed the phone back. If someone's after you, I need to know who. I don't know, she said. But they know you. That landed harder than accusation. He turned away. The city outside shimmered through glass. Too bright to be safe. You should sleep. You think I can? He didn't answer. He pressed his cufflink shut once. The sound echoed through the room, sharp as punctuation. Later, he watched the security footage alone. Camera 12, the lobby. Raphael arriving an hour before he'd said he would. Camera 14, the hallway. A shadow leaving something under the door. He froze the frame. A folded envelope, he opened it. Inside, a photograph of Alara at the docks taken before he ever found her. On the back, a single line in Raphael's handwriting. Mercy leaks faster than blood. Soren set the photo down. His hands didn't shake, but the breath leaving him did. He looked at the cufflink's reflection on the table. Tiny light burning where faith used to be. Outside, thunder rolled over the harbor. Soft, patient, promising rain again. Inside, trust began to drown quietly, without struggle. He reached for the gun in the drawer, checked the chamber. Not for her, for whoever came next. Then he whispered, not to God, not to ghosts, just to memory. Clara, tell me I'm wrong about her. No answer, only the hum of the city rehearsing betrayal. The storm returned before dawn. Wind pushed against the glass like someone demanding answers. Inside, Soren waited at the edge of the room, the gun on the table between them. Not loaded, but symbolic enough to speak. Alara stood by the doorway, hair wet, shoulders squared. No running this time, no pleading, only quiet defiance. He gestured toward the chair. She didn't move. Sit, he said. If you wanted me dead, you'd have done it already. Don't tempt me. Then why the gun? Because words stop working. The air carried the weight of unfinished nights. Every second stretched thin, trembling. He stepped closer. There was a leak. Someone fed the police. You were there. You called someone. I didn't. I saw the message. Then you saw I never sent it. That doesn't matter. The message means intent. Intent to survive, she snapped. You think I wanted you to find me? Her voice cracked the stillness. He stopped walking. Your father owed money, he said. To us. To Raphael, she corrected. And he died for it. A silence so sharp it rang. You knew? I was there. The gun looked small now, just metal holding echoes. He lowered his eyes. Your father made choices. So did you. Her breath came unsteady. His didn't. He had trained himself not to breathe during guilt. He begged for time, she said. You did nothing. He flinched. The first real movement since she entered. I gave orders, he said, voice flat. Raphael carried them out, and you hid behind his obedience. The accusation hit like memory, clean and precise. He turned away, eyes finding the city beyond the rain. Lights blurred into halos. Everything looked forgiven until you touched it. You think I don't remember? He said quietly. I remember every face. She took a step closer. Then remember mine. He looked at her, truly looked. Not the girl from the alley, the daughter of his sin. Why didn't you run? Because I wanted to know why you saved me. He said nothing. Only the hum of the building answered, a sound between guilt and electricity. Say it, she whispered. You wouldn't understand. Then teach me. He reached for the cufflink, pressed it once. Click, a heartbeat disguised as control. Because I couldn't save my wife. Her expression didn't change. Only her shoulders softened, the body recognizing truth before the mind allowed it. You think saving me fixes that? No, he said. But it stops me from repeating it. You don't even know me. I don't need to. Their eyes locked. Silence filled with all the words they'd never risk. He stepped closer. You remind me of her. That's not love. It's penance. She shook her head. Then you're not saving me. You're using me. That landed like a blade twisting slow. He didn't deny it. Instead, he placed the gun on the counter between them. If you think I deserve to die for what I've done, pull the trigger. She stared at it. At him. At the ghost between. Then she pushed it back. Gentle. Almost tender. If I wanted to die, I'd have stayed quiet. Silence again. Long. Uneven. Breathing as dialogue. He lowered his head. For the first time, his voice trembled. You think mercy's enough? No, she said. But it's a start. He exhaled. The sound carried exhaustion, not surrender. Then he laughed once. Not joy, just disbelief. You sound like her? Maybe that's why you hate me. He looked up, eyes tired, steady. No. That's why I can't let you die. A beat. Then another click. Cufflink closing, scene sealing. The thunder outside grew louder. Inside, the war between guilt and redemption found a ceasefire no one trusted. He moved past her toward the door. Raphael will come, he said. He always does when silence lasts this long. Then what? Then we find out if mercy can survive a bullet. He opened the door. Rain poured sideways, cutting through hallway light. He paused there, half shadow, half confession. You asked why I saved you, he said. Maybe I just wanted to see if I still could. She stepped closer to the threshold, close enough to feel the cold off his coat. And if you can't? He looked back once, eyes unreadable. Then someone has to bury what's left of me. The door shut. Another thunder roll. The apartment stayed lit, but somehow darker. Alara exhaled, long and uneven, realizing the man who'd saved her was both her savior and the author of her pain. Outside sirens returned, not hunting criminals, just chasing ghosts. The storm had broken. Morning light crawled through the windows like a secret afraid to be found. Soren sat alone in the chapel, coat damp, hands empty. No guards, no noise. Just the drip of rain sliding from the roof into a metal bucket. A heartbeat made of water. Father Mateo was there, sweeping. He didn't look surprised. He never did. He only said, You brought her here once. She wanted to light a candle, Soren answered. And you, I wanted to stop her. Matteo set the broom aside, his silence the sound of permission. Soren moved to the altar. The wax from old candles clung like ghosts to the marble. He touched one, felt the cold where flame used to live. She forgave you, you know, Matteo said. No, she pitied me. Same root, different fruit. Soren almost smiled, but guilt doesn't bend that way. He reached into his pocket and drew out the cufflink, silver worn to dullness, Clara's initials still bright. I thought if I carried it, I'd remember her right. And did you? He turned the cufflink over in his palm. I remembered control, not kindness. The priest nodded. Then you buried the wrong half. He left the chapel carrying more silence than peace. At the harbor, fog erased everything but sound, ropes groaning, water slapping metal, the sigh of engines half asleep. He walked to the old warehouse, the one where Clara had died. It was condemned now, sealed behind chains, but locks never stopped him. Inside, dust floated through shafts of light like slow-moving snow. He followed the corridor to the back room, where the bullet holes still patterned the wall, each one smaller than memory, larger than regret. He knelt beside a stain that time hadn't claimed. Laid the cufflink on the floor. For a moment he couldn't breathe. Every inhale brought back that night, her scream, the delay, the order not given soon enough. Mercy postponed until it became too late to matter. You were right, he whispered. Mercy means acting before you're ready. His voice didn't echo. The room had heard enough promises to stop believing them. He opened the small box he'd brought, a folded photograph, 2 bullets, and the other cufflink he'd kept hidden all these years. He placed them together in the dirt, pressed them down with his hand until metal met soil. You can rest now, he said. The wind moved through the cracks, lifting dust like a departing spirit. Then nothing, only stillness. 4 seconds of it, long, deliberate, the kind that feels earned. When he rose, he wasn't lighter. He was honest. The difference was subtle but real. He stepped outside. Rain returned, thin as forgiveness. At the pier, Alara waited, hood pulled up, eyes wary but searching. You followed me, he said. You left the door open. He almost laughed. That was a mistake, or an invitation. They stood without closing the distance. Behind her, the sea moved like breath. In, out, never finished. You came here for her, Alara said, for what's left of her. And what's left of you? He didn't answer. The silence answered for him. That low hum that lives between confession and collapse. She reached into her pocket, pulled out her pendant, the shard of glass, and held it beside his empty hand. Light from the water caught both, turning them into twin reflections of the same pain. My father used to fix mirrors, she said. People always asked if he could make them new. He said no, only clearer. And you believe that? I have to. He took the pendant carefully, placed it over the spot where the cufflink had rested minutes ago. The glass touched skin, cold, real. Clara believed mercy could change a man, he said. I thought she was wrong. And now? Now I think she was impatient. She smiled then, not joy but relief that honesty could sound that tired. They stood together as the tide rose, water lapping over concrete like the earth rehearsing forgiveness. From the pier, the city looked smaller. The lights softer. Somewhere a bell tolled. Father Matteo's chapel calling a prayer neither of them knew how to say. Soren turned his collar up, voice barely above the wind. When this ends, you go. And you. I stay buried, she shook her head. You can't build mercy from a grave. He didn't argue. He just watched the horizon, waiting for something to appear that never would. The rain thickened again, hiding tears no one admitted to. He pressed the pendant back into her hand. Keep this, he said. It sees clearer than I do. Her fingers closed around it. You think forgiveness lives in things? No, he said. But sometimes they remember when we forget. They walked back together, not touching, but breathing in rhythm. distance narrowing with each shared silence. Back in the apartment, Soren placed his soaked coat over the chair. The box that once held the cufflink sat open, empty. He didn't close it. For the first time, the absence felt deliberate. He looked out at the rain-slick city and exhaled. The breath sounded like surrender, but also like beginning. The past wasn't gone. It was simply buried deep enough to grow something new. Fade with the hum of rain meeting glass. Night again, but the air felt heavier, too full of what hadn't been said. The city's hum pressed against the windows like static guilt. Inside, the apartment smelled of rain and gun oil. Soren cleaned the weapon he hadn't used, each motion precise, ritualistic, a prayer for control. He heard footsteps long before Ilara spoke. "You went back," she said. "I had to." "Did it change anything?" "It changed me." She leaned on the doorframe, studying the man who spoke to ghosts. "And what happens to us?" "There's no us," he said too quickly. The lie hung there, faint, trembling, real. A chime broke the moment. Merrick's voice through the intercom. "We've got movement. Raphael's men are outside." Soren's breath slowed. "How many?" "Enough to make this personal. Hold them until I say otherwise." He switched off the feed, turned to Ilara. "You need to leave." "You said that last time." "This time I mean it." She crossed the room. Anger and fear braided into one steady heartbeat. "You think running ends it? You bury guilt, dig it up, and call it mercy. You don't understand what silence costs." "Then tell me." He didn't. Not yet. He walked to the window, rain reflecting red siren light across his face. "Every order I gave," he said finally, came with a pause. Just long enough to imagine another way. That pause killed people, including her. He turned, eyes hollow, but alive. Including her. The admission filled the space like thunder trapped indoors. "So that's your punishment," she whispered, "to protect me the way you didn't protect her." "Yes." "And what if I don't want to be your penance?" He almost smiled. "Then you'll have to forgive me faster. Then I can forgive myself." The hallway lights flickered, the building's heartbeat faltered. Merrick's voice again, urgent. "He's..." Inside, Soren's hand went to the gun, then stopped. "Get Jonah," he ordered, but the line went dead. Ilara stepped closer. "You don't have to do this." "I do. If I stay silent again, people die. Then speak." Raphael entered without knocking. No entourage. No theatrics. Just the same calm smile that used to mean loyalty. "I told you mercy leaks," he said. "You're late. I was waiting for you to finish burying your past. Didn't want to interrupt the funeral." He glanced at Ilara, then at the empty cufflink box. "So it's true. You traded control for conscience. I traded death for delay." Raphael's coin rolled over his knuckles, the metal glinting between them like a third voice. "Delay gets people killed. She'll prove that soon enough." Ilara stepped forward. "You think fear keeps men loyal? It keeps them alive." Soren moved between them. "Not anymore." Raphael's smile vanished. "You sound like her," he said quietly. "Your wife. She made you soft. She made me human." Same thing. They stood inches apart, two halves of a broken creed. Rain hammered glass. Thunder waited for its cue. "You won't pull that trigger," Raphael said. "No," Soren answered. "But someone will." The shot came from behind. Marek, one bullet. Raphael staggered, eyes wide, disbelief turning into recognition. "You taught him well," Raphael managed before falling. The coin dropped, spinning until silence caught it. Marek lowered the gun. He was reaching. "No," Soren said. He was warning. Jonah entered, face pale. "The others are leaving." They heard the shot. Ilara looked from one man to another, the empire unspooling without sound. "Now what?" she asked. Soren holstered the weapon. "Now we pay." "For him? For everything." He walked to the body, knelt, closed Raphael's eyes. "You were right," he whispered. Mercy leaks faster than blood. He stood, looked at his men. No more orders tonight. Go home, they hesitated. He'd never said that before. That's an order, he added softly. When they left, the room felt too large. Ilara moved closer, voice breaking the hush. You said silence kills. You just proved it saves. No, he said. It only delays the noise. He walked to the window. The rain outside blurred city lights into a watercolor of confession. His reflection stared. Back, a man stripped of excuses. You think this ends when they stop coming? He asked. It ends when you stop waiting to die. He turned. Her pendant glimmered at her throat, catching the same weak light that once lived in Clara's eyes. If I speak again, he said, it has to matter. Then say it. He inhaled, slow, deliberate. I thought control could keep her alive. The words left him trembling but clear. The third confession. Everything that followed was silence. Long, honest, complete. He lowered his head, eyes wet but calm. Ilara stepped beside him, not to comfort, but to witness. The storm outside softened, its rhythm syncing with their breathing. No forgiveness yet, just air finally shared. The night collapsed quietly into dawn. No sirens, no footsteps, just the rain's slow retreat along the glass. For the first time in years, the city sounded empty, as if it had finally exhaled. Soren stood by the window, shirt torn, hands still marked by gun oil. He watched the horizon fade from iron to pale gold. The color felt undeserved. Behind him, Ilara moved softly through the wreckage of the room. Broken glass, overturned chair, Raphael's shadow already erased. She gathered the scattered papers from the table, set them in a neat pile, restoration in miniature. You didn't sleep, she said. Didn't need to. You look like you do. He almost smiled. That's progress. They let silence finish the conversation. Outside, gulls began to circle the harbor, their cries small, ordinary, mercifully alive. Father Matteo arrived near noon, collar damp, eyes bright with fatigue. He stepped inside without asking. The way memory always does. I heard thunder, he said. I guessed it wasn't weather. It's over, Soren told him. Nothing ends. Soren, it just quiets. The priest crossed the room, touched Raphael's bloodstain on the floor with 2 fingers, then drew a small sign of the cross in the air. Peace isn't clean, he murmured. Soren lowered his gaze. I'm not asking for absolution. Good, because I can't give it. You already did, he looked up. What do you mean? You stopped talking in fear. That's the only confession God listens for. The words landed like rain on dry ground. No sound, just absorption. Later, the 3 of them walked to the chapel. Ilara carried the small metal box that once held the cufflink. Inside lay nothing now, only air that smelled faintly of oil and salt. Matteo lit 2 candles. One for the dead, one for the living who wished they were. He nodded for Soren to step forward. Soren placed the empty box between them. For her, he said, and for what she tried to teach me. Ilara added her pendant beside it. Glass and metal side by side. Light meeting reflection. They'll stay here? She asked. Until the wax runs out, Matteo said. After that, it's memory's job. They sat on the chapel steps afterward, facing the sea. The air smelled of stone and salt and something almost clean. Ilara broke the quiet first. You're still going back to that apartment? For now. And after? I don't know. Maybe I'll buy a smaller place. One that can breathe, she nodded, tracing a groove in the stone with her thumb. You could leave the city. The city needs to remember me. That sounds like punishment. Maybe it's peace. A bell rang in the distance. Midday. Not morning. Soren turned toward it, eyes half closed. You ever notice, he said, how silence feels heavier when it's honest? Then it's working. she replied. He glanced at her. You staying? For a while. Why? Because you finally said what mattered. He exhaled through a smile he didn't try to hide. And what was that? That you don't know how to forgive yourself, but you're willing to try. The wind lifted her hair across her face. He reached out, brushed it back, stopped halfway, and let the motion turn into a wave of the hand instead. Boundaries kept, promises intact. When they returned to the harbor, light pooled on the water like melted metal. The city hummed softly, no longer demanding, just existing. Soren stood at the edge of the pier. He closed his eyes, listened, every sound, the gulls, the water, even the distance, fit into one rhythm, not control, not fear. Just life continuing without permission. He opened his hand, empty now, and watched it tremble once before it stilled. Even power can learn mercy, he whispered. Alara heard, but didn't answer. Some truths don't need echo. They only need air. They walked back together through the thinning fog, each step quieter than the last, until their footsteps sounded like breathing. Evening returned like a gentler echo of every night before it. No thunder now, only wind smoothing the sea's rough skin. The city's lights trembled on the water, small lanterns of apology. Soren sat alone on the pier, coat folded beside him. The cufflink box had been left at the chapel. His hands were finally bare. He flexed his fingers as though testing new air. Father Mateo's words replayed softly. Mercy isn't forgiveness. It's participation. The line turned inside him until it fit. He thought of the men who'd followed him, of Raphael, of every silence that had cost someone their name. All of it still existed, but no longer owned him. The world hadn't forgiven. It had simply stopped asking. Footsteps approached. Alara sat down beside him. No words, just presence. That was enough. After a while, she said, You ever wonder if mercy changes the world? He watched a gull hover above the waves, wings catching light. Maybe it only changes the person brave enough to try. Then it's working. Her voice was softer now, not from weakness but understanding. They watched the horizon bruise into dusk. Wind lifted the smell of salt and metal. Church bells counted the hour without urgency. He spoke again, slower, every word a measured breath. I built an empire from fear. It kept everyone obedient, even me, but fear doesn't last. It burns too fast to warm anything. What lasts? She asked. Regret, he said, smiling faintly. Until mercy teaches it manners. She laughed, a real sound, small and human, the kind that doesn't echo. It settles. They sat in shared quiet. Every pause a new kind of sentence. Rain began again, soft and aimless. Soren tilted his face to it. For the first time, he didn't flinch. He let it trace the lines time had carved across him. Clara used to say rain is just the sky remembering, he murmured. Then you're both remembered, Alara replied. The words dissolved into the night. No answer needed. He closed his eyes. The sound of the tide matched his heartbeat. Slower, steadier, finally human. Guilt had not vanished. It had transformed. A wound turned into warning, into wisdom. Later, as they walked back toward the city, he said, Do you think they'll forgive me? Forgiveness isn't the point. Then what is? That you keep trying even when no one's watching. He nodded once. The truth of it felt heavier than guilt, but lighter to carry. The streetlights flickered on. One by one, a quiet applause for survivors. Behind them, the sea continued its endless confession to the shore. Soren glanced at the skyline, the glass towers glowing like absolution. Every silence was a decision, he said. Maybe this one can be peace. Alara slipped her hands into her coat pockets, voice barely above the wind. Peace isn't the absence of noise. It's the sound you can finally live with. He smiled at that. It sounded like closure. The city shone the same as it always had. Neon veins pulsing through fog, traffic sighing, rain whispering along the gutters. But it no longer looked like confession. It looked like breath. Soren stood beneath the same streetlight where the story began. The alley had been scrubbed clean, yet the air still carried memory. A faint echo of gunfire, of running footsteps, of a girl who didn't flinch. He watched his reflection in a shop window. Once he would have adjusted his cufflink. Now his wrist was bare, the habit buried with everything he used to be. He touched the glass instead. Warm from the city's pulse, cool beneath the surface. Across the street, Ilara waited by a cab, hood up against the drizzle. She looked the way endings should look. Not dramatic, just ready. He crossed toward her slowly, each step lighter than the last, the rain carrying his silence for him. "You leaving?" he asked, for a while. "Good. You'll be okay?" "I'll be quiet," she smiled. It was almost the same thing. She reached into her pocket, held out the pendant. "Keep it," he said. "It belongs to the light now." She nodded, closed her hand around it and stepped into the cab. The door shut with a soft thud, the kind that ends stories without breaking them. When the engine started, the headlights washed over him, turning rain into threads of silver. He looked up. The skyline blurred behind drops on the glass. Every light refracted, splitting into dozens of small suns. He could see his face in each. Not absolved, but whole. A memory flickered. Clara's laugh against a piano string, the sound of a cufflink clicking shut, a voice whispering, "Act before you're ready." He breathed once, steady. For the first time, silence didn't punish. It simply rested. The cab turned the corner. The street emptied. The rain kept its rhythm. Gentle, even. Endless. Soren closed his eyes and listened. The city answered with the sound of a single drop striking glass. It didn't shatter. It sang. 5 seconds of silence. Fade to black.